Welcome to the Maintain Me Denver Resource Channel. I'm Morgan Jenkins. I'm the director of Maintain Me.
And hi, I'm Chelsea Sweeney. I am the nurse and case manager, owner of Maintain Me.
And today we are going to talk about communication when you are living in a community of any kind, 55 plus, independent living, assisted living, memory care, whether you are the advocate for a loved one or you are advocating for yourself. It is sometimes hard to know where to turn when you have an issue and to have things be resolved in a way that doesn't get your blood pressure up. So that's what we want to talk about today.
Yeah, I think the first thing that we'll start with is kind of the beginning of the process. So when you're working with someone like ourselves or your transition coordinator in your area, we often will be dealing with, majority of the time, the marketing director. And that marketing director is the person who is showing you the place, is helping you with the numbers, the process of admission, talking to you about the activities, getting to know you and your loved one. And it can be very oftentimes confusing when you finally have narrowed down a place to transition to call your new home, and not knowing that marketing person is most often not the person that you're dealing with once move-in occurs. And don't you think, Morgan, like that is one of the biggest complaints of they start to build a rapport. That marketing person is very important, which I also think is important to have somebody that's non-biased like ourselves in the mix, because we're their constant. I always tell families, don't choose a place by the marketing person. As much as that person is always likable, right? That's part of the job, and just you could tell that they love what they do. That's not the person that's going to be the person they go to on a day-to-day basis. So what happens next, Morgan? So that's kind of like up until I've chosen a place. I've worked with Morgan. I've worked with, say, this marketing person at this community. I'm all for it. I feel good about it. Now I'm transitioning into my new home and trying to acclimate. Like what happens next? How do we help families at that next stage?
Yeah, I think that's a great place to jump in. So I would say the very first thing you should ever do when you move into a community is, who's my contact? Who is the person? How do I reach them? That's convenient for them, convenient for me. And is it different people? If I have a question about food, do I need to call somebody in dining, or do I still use my same contact? And these would be the things I would try to establish in my first week living there, is who my people. Once you decide and figure out who they are and what issue they cover, it's a good thing to do that on the front end before you have an issue. So you can kind of start there, is identify who your people are and how to reach them.
Yeah, I think an important question would be, what would I come to you for? Right? Great. Because I think that they probably know their job. Like, we can kind of assume based off their title, maybe what they do, or maybe not. Maybe their title is completely nothing that they do. I don't, who actually gives the titles, right? So I think the most important thing is, so say somebody comes into your room, hi, my name is Chelsea. Okay, great. Thank you so much for being here. What would I come to you for? And they would be able to very quickly be like, well, I mean, if you need to go to the bathroom, you come to me. If, things like that. So helping, like asking them, what would I come to you for? Will give them a reason to be like, oh, well, these are the things I can help you with. And so I think that's a good question, is to start asking people, what could I come to you for? Instead of like, what could you do for me? I like the phrases of, what can I come to you for?
Yeah, I think that's fantastic.
Just from personal experience, I owned an assisted living, a little 8-bed residential home. And I don't think I did this well because it's a smaller setting. So it's pretty easy to, if you have a problem, it's pretty easy to get to somebody because there's pretty consistent people, or there's just not very many people. So just a quick topic on that. I do think the bigger, the more you'll have to work as establishing that communication, just because there's more people there. But in a smaller place, we had a contacts list to fill out when we did admissions. And what we gathered was your basic information, person's name, person's phone number, maybe email. But what we didn't do, and what I've learned after the fact, unfortunately, is we never really put on their preference of, like what you were talking about, like method of communication. if I needed to go to a daughter and I just took down her number, what if she didn't have that phone on her Monday through Friday, 8 to 5? Maybe she had a work phone or she preferred email. So I think preference and method of communication is definitely like the next most important thing as to what can somebody help you with.
Just, a few tips then after that. So you've got your people, you're slowly working your way into introducing yourself to the different people that live there. I think expectations is kind of the next thing. What are your expectations? Is it an unmet expectation that is a concern for you now, or an expectation that wasn't discussed? It is expected that this is going to come up. It is expected that when you insert yourself into a brand new environment with brand new personalities, especially if you're getting help, that stuff's gonna come up. There's gonna be things on occasion. So just having that expectation will help you kind of move into the next step. Okay, who's my point of contact? Another tip is separating the person from the problem. So you could be really, really angry that your apartment is never getting cleaned, but the next caregiver that walks through your door is probably not the person that cleans the apartments. And so getting angry at that person only sours other relationships. So it's really important not to get emotional, step back from the problem and separate the person in front of you from the problem that's going on. Being calm helps too in every situation, and do assume that everyone is doing the best that they know how. So it could be that you have someone who is new or under trained or any number of things. So it's good not to assume that this person is going out of their way to make your life uncomfortable, but rather that they just don't know, and we maybe need to keep going up the chain of command. Address what you know to be the case, know to be true. So not the worst case scenario. So if you say to yourself, well, this could have happened, this didn't happen, it's the worst case scenario, and you don't want to act as if that did occur, but really just take the fact for the fact. Did they skip your meal? Okay, I could have died of starvation. Probably not. Definitely uncomfortable, completely out of line, but let's not go all the way to starvation. Let's just try to fix the problem. And then be solutions oriented. So here's how I would like to solve my problem. Here are things that would help me feel better. Not going on the attack to say that this person is doing something against you. And then even if the solution is easy, conflict may not quickly resolve. So it may take a little time to get the actual solution resolved, even though it's started.
Yeah, and the other thing too is there's resident council.
Good
And
call.
so it's really important. The more you're engaged in your care, I think the faster things will be resolved. So if you put yourself out there and resident council is once a month, and the point of it is to hear from residents, things that could be better, activity, suggestions, or just things that all around will make your life better in that community. And spearheading that, or maybe you have a group of friends that are also dissatisfied and you keep hearing the same thing, maybe being a spokesperson for those people, or if you have a spokesperson, say, hey, in the next resident council meeting, could you bring this up? And then, like she said, with the whole goal oriented thing, something that I think is really helpful is, hey, this is what's currently happening. I think it would make me a lot happier if this is what was happening. And I think if you gear it more towards like that, this would make me happier here. I think all in all, everybody wants everybody in their community to be happy, and they're all working towards this common goal of just having a really nice quality of life. And so communicating that effectively is the best way to get that across. And then that resident council is such a great place for that to take place. And if resident council, maybe it's something that needs to be addressed sooner than that, that's okay too. Maybe it's something that can't wait till resident council. And, maybe you can get your voice heard, and it might not be a quick solution. So maybe the solution, they have time between now and resident council to come up with a solution, but then you have some closure as to, okay, my voice has been heard, And I now know that we're going to hear some kind of feedback or maybe some solutions at next resident council. So maybe even saying, hey, I know this might not be able to be resolved right now, but I needed to get it off my chest because it was starting to build up. You know, when's an appropriate time for us to revisit this issue? And setting that timeline so that it's not just kind of festering within you, because it just starts to build up animosity. And this is your new family now in most cases, and you start to become a very close-knit family in these communities. And so it's important to get things off your chest appropriately, even if it doesn't get resolved right away. So
Awesome.
yeah, well, thank you guys so much. If you haven't been to our channel, the Denver Senior Resource Channel, our goal here is to educate families, caregivers, you know, our elderly population on how to best care for themselves and stay educated. So if you haven't, please subscribe and gives us a thumbs up, get the notification bell so that you can get notified every time we do new videos. If you have suggestions on different topics, please let us know. We are here for you.
Awesome. Thank you. Signing off.